Hello, I am Ethan Miller, 25, Eleanor Vance's personal assistant. The day begins early, the alarm clock rings, and, as always, I rise with a mix of anxiety and determination. The office routine has become a second skin to me. I arrive at Vance Dynamics in Manhattan, where the fluorescent light of the room seems to reflect the pressure we all feel. I answer calls, organize meetings, and meticulously manage Eleanor's schedule, which is perpetually packed with commitments. With each task, the idea that I need to stand out among the other assistants is a constant shadow. In the staff kitchenette, while preparing coffee, I cannot help but observe the people around me. Casual conversations and laughter echo, yet I am merely a spectator in this social dance. Eleanor is always one step ahead, surrounded by her concerns and decisions, and I feel like a ghost, simply fulfilling a role. The aroma of fresh coffee offers temporary relief, but when I return to my desk, the stark reality imposes itself again. Eleanor, with her imposing posture, is now concentrated on an email that seems to demand her full attention. "Ethan, can you organize the presentation for tomorrow?" Her voice is firm, but the way she avoids looking into my eyes makes me feel utterly invisible. "Of course, Ms. Vance," I reply, feeling a sharp pang of insignificance twisting in my gut. As I organize documents, my frustration grows steadily. Why can't I get closer to her? What goes on in the mind of that woman, so successful, so respected, but at the same time so distant? A solitary image of her, even amidst colleagues, forms vividly in my mind, and this makes me feel an inexplicable bond with her. Recently, something within me began to stir. A palpable shift was in the air. When I received the task of accompanying her to a conference in Montauk, my heart raced. Finally, an opportunity to be closer to her, to interact outside the cold office walls. But expectation mixes with fear. Will this break the barrier that has always separated us? The drive to the conference feels long. In the car, music plays softly, but my mind is elsewhere, ruminating on what could happen. Eleanor is seated beside me, immersed in her own thoughts, and I seize every second to observe her. The way her hair falls over her shoulders, her focused concentration on the road, even the small gestures I wouldn't normally see in a formal work setting. Each detail is a revelation, and simultaneously a reminder of the chasm that separates us. Upon our arrival at the breakers, the scent of the ocean was a balm to my overstimulated senses. The sheer beauty of Montauk contrasted sharply with the rigidity of my daily grind, leaving me to wonder if this conference might finally be a turning point. At the front desk, Eleanor spoke with the staff with her usual unyielding authority. I made a quiet resolve that, should an opportune moment arise, I needed to speak with her on a more personal level. Yet, as she moved away, I couldn't shake the feeling that no matter how much I yearned to bridge the gap, the distance between us remained stubbornly palpable. The routine I had built around myself over the years had become a self-imposed fortress, but deep inside there was a persistent ache to shatter those walls. I was weary of being merely an assistant, a shadow. I craved to be seen, not just as a diligent worker, but as someone capable of sharing meaningful moments, even the smallest ones. As the conference loomed, I felt an inevitability hanging in the air, a profound shift I couldn't quite foresee, yet one that already filled me with an unsettling anxiety. What would unfold here by the ocean could very well be the key to unlocking a new chapter in my life. The days that followed that Montauk conference left an indelible mark on my mind, etched into my very being. I remembered looking at Eleanor then, truly seeing her for the first time, perceiving something profound beyond the formidable CEO everyone admired. Yet simultaneously, the distance between us felt more vast than ever. Work transformed into a silent battleground. Between meetings and the endless stream of emails, Interactions that once felt mundane were now suddenly charged with an unspoken, heavy significance. Reflecting on how I'd arrived at this point, my mind drifted back to the interview day. The waiting room Advanced Dynamics was bustling with hopeful candidates, but the one who truly struck me was Eleanor. The moment she entered, the entire atmosphere shifted. She was the absolute personification of power and fierce determination. I sat there, my nerves frayed, observing her confident posture and the way she effortlessly commanded the conversation. "You seem to have potential, Ethan," she had said, her voice firm and decisive. In that precise moment, I believed I was on the cusp of beginning a new phase of my life. But I also couldn't ignore the unsettling sensation of an immense chasm already opening between us. The stark difference in our status was undeniably palpable. While I struggled to make ends meet each month, Eleanor inhabited a world of uncompromising luxury, where every decision she made rippled through the lives of countless individuals. She drove a sleek luxury sports car, a perfect extension of her successful CEO image, while I was content with my humble, reliable sedan. Every single month, the bills piled up, and I found myself wondering if I would ever truly achieve what she had. The disparity in our salaries, the vastly different lives we led, it all felt like a constant crushing reminder of the hierarchy that stretched endlessly between us. As time passed, I began noticing Eleanor's small gestures of humanity. Always busy, rare smiles or quiet jokes hinted at the person beneath the CEO. She yearned to connect, but fear of vulnerability kept her distant. I recall an empty office day. Eleanor reviewed a report. I helped. She looked at me hesitantly. Behind every great leader, a human with insecurities exists. My respect shifted to genuine curiosity. What else hid behind that facade? I silently sought to approach, but fear of invading her space paralyzed me. A colleague remarked, "Miss Vance, a machine, they say, feels nothing." That echoed. I didn't want Eleanor to be cold. Her invisible armor was impenetrable. The haunting thought was, it's hard to imagine someone so brilliant feeling so alone. How could such success leave no room for vulnerability? I tried to decipher her signals, hoping she'd open up. As the conference neared, I didn't know what to expect. More time with Eleanor, away from office pressure, both intrigued and terrified. Expectation filled the air. What would unfold by the shore? The beach's lighter atmosphere might be our chance to connect, unlike the office. Driving to the coastal resort, I saw Eleanor gazing out, an expression I'd never seen. She pondered what might happen there, free from corporate demands. First night at dinner, interactions were formal, yet a subtle shift, a slipping away, occurred. Eleanor toasted as she raised her glass. Our eyes met. Time stopped. For a moment, our distance diminished. After the opening ceremony, as everyone began to disperse, I approached her. "Ms. Vance, would you like to take a walk along the beach?" Her hesitation was palpable in her gaze, but to my surprise, she agreed. Walking side by side, the conversation flowed more naturally. "It's beautiful here," she commented, looking out at the sea. "Yes," I replied, "but it's not the same without someone to share it with." Ooh, to my surprise, Eleanor looked at me, and in her eyes was something I didn't know how to interpret. And in that moment I realized that despite our differences in power and status, we were both prisoners of our own insecurities. All I wanted was for her to see she didn't need to hide behind her CEO persona. In truth, I admired her not just for her success, but for her humanity. What I didn't know was that this connection, this understanding, was about to be tested in ways I could never imagine. The conference began to run its course, but the approaching storm outside seemed to mirror the turmoil brewing within me. The mornings were packed with panels and lectures, but at night, as the hotel lights reflected on the waves, A palpable tension hung between Eleanor and me. The furtive glances and unspoken words accumulated, as if we were in a delicate dance, trying to find the right rhythm. On the second night, after an exhausting day of presentations and debates, Eleanor and I decided to meet for dinner. "Ethan, could you help me review tomorrow's presentation?" she asked, her voice a little softer than usual. Something in her tone gave me hope. I nodded, a little nervous but excited by the opportunity to be closer to her, away from the corporate environment. We had dinner at a beachfront restaurant, surrounded by a gentle breeze and the sound of the waves. The conversation between us flowed in a surprising way. Eleanor began to open up in a manner I had never seen before. "You know, many times I feel everyone expects me to be perfect. It's exhausting," she said, looking at her plate, as if the words weighed as heavily as the pressure she carried. I watched her, surprised, searching for the right words. "You don't have to be perfect, Eleanor." "Nobody is," I replied, trying to encourage a vulnerability I sensed hiding beneath the surface. She lifted her eyes and our gaze met. There was an intensity there, a connection that seemed to go beyond what either of us understood. The moment stretched, heavy with emotion, until Eleanor gave a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "Thank you, Ethan. Sometimes it's good to be reminded I have someone I can trust." Those words left me speechless, and without thinking I reached my hand to hers, a simple gesture, yet laden with meaning. In that instant, the world around us vanished. It could have been the gentle breeze or the scent of the ocean, but there was something magical in the air. Eleanor allowed herself to relax a little, and the tension that surrounded us began to dissipate. We talked about our lives, and I shared some of my insecurities, revealing how I had always felt overlooked. When I spoke of my struggle to assert myself in a world dominated by more experienced individuals, Eleanor listened intently, as if absorbing every word. "I also have fears, Ethan. A fear that one day all of this will end and I'll be alone again," Eleanor said, the vulnerability in her voice captivating me even more. It was as if the barriers separating us were finally beginning to crumble. "You're not alone, Eleanor. You never have been. There will always be people who care about you," I replied, feeling that the words were more than just comfort. They were a promise from me. After dinner, we decided to take a walk on the beach. The sky was clear, and the stars shone brightly above us. We walked side by side, and the proximity generated an electricity that left me both nervous and excited. Sometimes it feels like success is all that matters, but what if it isn't? Eleanor questioned, pausing to look out at the ocean. The depth of her words resonated within me. "What else matters then?" I asked, my heart quickening. "Love, connection, simple moments like this one. Life isn't just about accomplishments, but about the people around us," Eleanor affirmed, and I felt she was beginning to see what I saw. We weren't just an assistant and a CEO, we were two human beings searching for something deeper. But before we could explore that feeling, a sudden rain began to fall, and we ran together to take shelter. The adrenaline and laughter brought us even closer, and when we found a small kiosk, the tension transformed into something more palpable. We were soaked, laughing and breathless, and Eleanor looked at me in a way that set my heart ablaze. "I never let anyone get close, but you," she said, almost in a whisper, and moved by an impulse, I leaned in. The kiss that followed was soft, hesitant at first, but soon transformed into something profound. Brimming with promises and hopes, the world around us vanished, and for a brief moment we felt it was just the two of us, far from the expectations and the weight of success. When we pulled away, Eleanor's eyes shone, and I saw a new light in her. "What do we do now?" I asked, my heart still racing. She smiled, a mix of freedom and fear on her face. "I don't know. But I feel like I need to find out. "I don't want this to just stay between us," she said, her gaze determined. And in that moment, I realized something had shifted. A new path stretched before us, full of uncertainties, yet also possibilities. As dawn broke, the approaching storm had transformed into a sunrise, and just as the sun began to shimmer over the ocean, I knew our journey was only just beginning. That night on the beach was a turning point. The kiss we shared after the storm wasn't just an impulsive act. It was a moment of revelation. By dawn, a lightness settled between us, as if the salt water that had drenched us had also washed away our insecurities. Eleanor and I awoke with a new understanding, yet simultaneously, reality still loomed like a shadow. What would we have to face now that the barrier between us had been shattered? The conference continued with its usual formality, but a new subtext colored our interactions. Every time our eyes met across the room, amidst our colleagues, my heart raced. During the day, Eleanor presented herself as the CEO everyone knew, maintaining her firm, professional demeanor. But at night, when we were alone, she allowed herself to be more authentic, more vulnerable. She spoke of her fears and insecurities, and I, in turn, opened up about my own struggles. This forged an intimacy that defied the norms the corporate world imposed. At one of the dinners, watching the waves break on the shore, Eleanor confessed, "I never thought I could feel this way about someone from work. It's confusing." I understood her. "I feel confused too," I admitted, "but it's like we're truly getting to know each other for the first time." That conversation reinforced a feeling I'd already harbored. We weren't just an assistant and his boss. We were two souls seeking connection in a world that often valued only achievements and outcomes. However, the pressure was mounting. Returning to our routine after the conference brought with it the weight of expectation and the urgent need to keep our relationship a secret. Our encounters became clandestine, filled with meaningful glances and discreet touches, all while we painstakingly maintained our professional facade. Eleanor, with her public image to uphold, and I, fearing what might happen if anyone discovered our forbidden romance. The atmosphere in the office had subtly shifted. Colleagues started to notice small changes in our dynamic. Mark Jensen, a colleague near me, made an insinuating comment. "You and Ms. Vance seem to be spending more time together, huh?" That sent a chill down my spine. It was as if our small moments had attracted the unwelcome attention of others. Meanwhile, Eleanor received similar remarks from her close friend, Sarah Peterson, always quick to notice changes in her demeanor. "You've been different lately, Eleanor. Is there something you're not telling me?" Eleanor deflected the question with a smile, but I knew the pressure was mounting. As the days stretched on, the pressure to keep our relationship a secret began to feel unbearable. Every exchanged message, every discreet touch, every furtive glance seemed to weigh even heavier. Eleanor and I discussed this one evening after a particularly exhausting day. "Ethan, I don't know how much longer we can keep going like this. What we're doing might not be sustainable," she said, the worry palpable in her gaze. "I know, but what we have is real. We can't just leave it behind," I replied, my voice trembling with the intensity of the emotion. Eleanor nodded, and I saw the internal struggle she was facing. On one hand, the desire to be free and true. On the other, the need to protect her image and career. "What if someone finds out? How could this affect your position? My position?" Her fears resonated within me, and I realized we were on the brink of a critical decision. That same week, the rumors began to circulate. A group of colleagues huddled around the coffee machine, laughing and speaking in hushed tones. "Did you hear about Miss Vance and Ethan? It's all a big scheme, they're together," one of them exclaimed, and the laughter spread like wildfire through dry straw. I felt as if an icy blade had cut through my chest. Eleanor didn't deserve this. What was ours was turning into a spectacle for the office, and the weight of it was overwhelming. When we finally found a moment alone, the atmosphere was thick with tension. "Ethan, we need to talk. These rumors, they're spreading faster than I could have imagined," Eleanor said, her frustration and concern evident. "We need to make a decision. What are we going to do?" Her gaze was deep and serious, and I realized it was time for a choice. "We could try to deny them, or we could own what we're living," I suggested, my heart racing with the possibility. The silence that followed was loaded with meaning, and I knew this decision would change our lives. "Go public?" She shook her head, contemplative. "This is risky, Ethan. My career, your career. Everything could be impacted." But there was also a flicker in her eyes, a hope that perhaps this could set us free. "What if it means we'll be happier? Don't you believe what we have is worth fighting for?" The words hung in the air, and I realized that no matter what we decided, we would have to face the consequences together. "I don't want to give up what we have. I want to fight for it," Eleanor said, determination growing in her voice. "Then let's go public," I replied, my heart pounding with a mix of anxiety and hope. Life's too short to live in fear. Just like that, in that moment, we decided we would expose ourselves, that we would embrace what we had built together, even if it meant facing criticism and disapproving glares. At dawn, we made a plan. At the next company meeting, we would make an announcement. Eleanor prepared to take a stand in defense of what we felt. The weight of the decision was overwhelming, but there was a lightness in the idea of finally being free. That night, as I gazed at the stars, I realized we were ready to face whatever came. No one could separate us or diminish us, because what we had was true. At the meeting, Eleanor took the floor with unwavering confidence. "I'd like to share something with all of you," she began, and the room fell into an immediate heavy silence. I felt her heart pounding beside me, and when she met my gaze, I saw fierce determination in her eyes. "Ethan and I..." The words that followed would irrevocably alter the course of our lives. That morning, the meeting room atmosphere was thick with expectation. Eleanor, her gaze steady, began to speak, and I felt adrenaline surge through my body. "Ethan and I, we are together." The words echoed, and a sepulchral silence gripped the room. Some people exchanged surprised glances, others wore expressions of astonishment, but I saw, amidst the confusion, a glimmer of support in the eyes of a few colleagues. It was a decisive moment, a leap into the dark that, in a way, we had already rehearsed in our hearts. "What do you mean, together?" Mark Jensen's voice cut through the silence, and I could feel the tension rise. Eleanor took a deep breath, determined to proceed. "Our relationship is real and true. We won't hide or pretend that what we have doesn't exist. And honestly, this shouldn't affect our work. Our ability to perform our duties doesn't change because of how we feel about each other." Her voice was powerful, and every word seemed to resonate with the strength of her decision. The room was still in shock, and a murmur began, voices whispering, speculations rising like smoke. "This is a serious conflict of interest," someone shouted from the back. "She's setting a terrible precedent." Another voice rose, and the glimmer of support I'd initially perceived began to dissipate. Eleanor glanced quickly at me. I could see the insecurity beneath the confidence she tried to maintain. I had to intervene. "If you'll permit me, I'd like to speak," I said, my voice a little firmer than I felt. "Ethan, you don't have to..." Eleanor began, but I interrupted her. "No, I do. What we have isn't just a romance. It's a connection that makes us better at our jobs. I want everyone to know this is real, and we're not here to harm anyone. We've striven to be professional, and that won't change." My heart was racing, but there was a tangible sense of relief in finally being able to say it out loud. At that moment, some colleagues began to nod in agreement. I've already noticed the change in both of you. There's no denying you're more motivated and productive, said a colleague who had always been supportive. That was a small ray of light in a tempestuous scene. But the fear was still palpably present. What would happen now? What would the company say? What would they think of us? The meeting ended without a clear resolution, but Eleanor's decision and mine solidified within us like an anchor. That day I went home with a knot in my stomach. What would happen next? The words of support that had emerged during the meeting were a temporary relief, yet the voices of disapproval resonated louder in my mind. In the days that followed, the pressure mounted. Rumors spread like wildfire. Malicious comments started to surface in conversations around the staff kitchenette, and I felt the weight of the dynamics in our workplace shift. Eleanor, always strong and fearless, now appeared more vulnerable, and that deeply worried me. What was once a professional flirtation had transformed into an emotional battleground. One afternoon, as I organized documents in the office, Eleanor came in and closed the door behind her. "Ethan, we need to talk," she said, her expression grave. Her tone left me apprehensive. "These rumors, they're affecting all of us. I can't work knowing they're talking about us." She seemed worn down. The weight she carried was visibly taking its toll. "I know, Eleanor, I feel it too, but we must be honest about what we're feeling. This love is true, and we cannot let fear dominate us," I said, trying to encourage her. "What if this means losing everything, my career and yours?" The insecurity in her voice hit me hard. "But what if it means we'll be happier? Don't you believe what we have is worth fighting for?" I needed her to see that love was more important than any external judgment. And then something shifted in her gaze. A spark of determination began to shine again. "You're right," she said. "I can't let others decide what's important to me. We'll stand united." We decided we needed to show the world that we were strong, that we were a team. And so, in a subsequent meeting, Eleanor asked for a second chance to speak. "I'd like to clarify a few things," she began. The room fell silent, and the atmosphere was tense again. "My feelings for Ethan do not affect my ability to lead this team. On the contrary, they make me a better leader, a better person. I'm not here to apologize, but to affirm that what we have is real, and we shouldn't let it interfere with our professionalism." Her gaze was intense, and there was a renewed energy in her voice. "We are here to work as a team, and that should be our focus. As long as you all remain professional and dedicated, so will I. We will overcome this together." A few people started to applaud, and as I looked at Eleanor, I saw she was regaining her confidence. That was the woman I knew, strong and unafraid. From then on, things slowly began to calm. The initial reaction from colleagues transformed into an acknowledgement of the authenticity of our relationship. And instead of pointing fingers, many began to see the strength our union brought to the team. Over time, the company started to focus on what truly mattered, results and teamwork. But even though we were on a calmer path, I knew there were still challenges ahead. Every glance and every whisper could still resonate in our minds. Eleanor and I shared intimate moments outside of work, those small refugees that made us feel alive amidst the chaos. Sometimes we walked on the beach, talking about everything and nothing, and other times we were just two lovers enjoying the simplicity of breakfast together. In one of those moments, Eleanor looked at me and said, "You know, I was so afraid to show who I really am, but you made me realize I don't have to be just the CEO. I can be Eleanor too." Hearing that, my heart filled with love and admiration for her. "And I don't want you to stop being the incredible CEO you are, but I also want you to allow yourself to be vulnerable, to be yourself," I replied. We slowly adjusted to our new dynamic. And with each passing day, we felt our relationship only grew stronger. Eleanor found a new balance between her personal and professional life, and I felt more and more a part of her world. It was as if, finally, we were building a home together, not just in a physical sense, but something deeper and truer. But I knew the path wasn't entirely clear of obstacles yet. Life had its surprises, and although we were facing everything together, I kept wondering if, at some point, we would need to deal with what could be considered a betrayal of our own ideal of love. What would happen if the challenges of the corporate world separated us again? These questions hung over us, but for now, we were a team, and what we were building seemed worth every effort. The weeks that followed our declaration felt like a mixture of relief and tension. Eleanor and I were navigating uncharted waters where the emotional connection we had cultivated became increasingly visible to everyone around us. Although the team was adapting to our new reality, there was a feeling that at any moment we could face new storms. And, in fact, it didn't take long for that to happen. One morning, as I was organizing my desk, I received a message from Eleanor. "We need to talk. Urgent." My heart sped up. Her tone seemed serious, and what could be so important? I went to her office, taking a quick glance around to make sure no one was paying attention. As I entered, I closed the door behind me. "Hi, Ethan. Please, have a seat," she said, her expression tense. The air felt heavy, as if I could feel the electricity of the situation. "I received a memo from the board, and HR has been involved. They're not pleased about our relationship. They want me to make a choice." What she said was like a punch to the gut. "What do you mean by make a choice?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice calm. "They're suggesting I either terminate our relationship or consider a promotion to head our West Coast division, effectively relocating me away from you." The desperation in her eyes hit me hard. It was as if the whole weight of the world was on her shoulders. "This is ridiculous, Eleanor. We're not doing anything wrong. We're just being honest about what we feel," I said, feeling the anger rising. "How can they do this?" She shook her head, clearly distressed. "I know, but they don't see things that way. To them it's a matter of corporate ethics, and if I don't act quickly, my position in the company could be compromised." The desperation in her eyes hit me hard. "So what are we going to do? We can't just let them decide for us. What we have is more valuable than any title or promotion," I said, trying to find a path through the darkness that was forming. "You're right. I can't let them dictate how I live my life. I need to take a stand." She took a deep breath, as if bracing herself for battle. "I'll speak to the board and explain that what we have doesn't interfere with my work. If they don't accept it, then perhaps it's time for me to consider other options." Her gaze was filled with fierce determination, and I knew she was resolved to fight. "And I'll be right there beside you no matter what happens," I replied, feeling that even though the challenges were immense, we were ready to face them together. At the meeting with the board of directors, Eleanor presented her position with unwavering confidence. "What I feel for Ethan isn't a burden. It's something that strengthens me. I'm a competent and dedicated professional, and my personal life shouldn't interfere with my career." There was an air of respect in the room that hadn't been there before. One of the directors, an older, more traditional man, shook his head. "Eleanor, you know we can't allow personal relationships to interfere with team dynamics. This could set a dangerous precedent for everyone here." He was being cautious, and I realized he was trying to protect the company from potential scandals. "I understand your concern, but this shouldn't be a matter of corporate policy. What we have is real and doesn't affect my ability to lead this team. If there's any impact, it will be a positive one," Eleanor argued, her voice firm and convincing. After long minutes of discussion, the board finally reached a consensus. "Very well, Eleanor. If you commit to maintaining professionalism and ensuring your relationship doesn't interfere with your duties, we will accept this. But if there's any indication that it's affecting performance, We'll have to re-evaluate the situation. The decision was a relief, but also a profound responsibility. As soon as the meeting concluded, Eleanor and I found each other in an isolated corner of the office. "We did it!" she exclaimed, her eyes shining with happiness. I embraced her, and the sense of relief was almost palpable. "Yes, but this doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet. We need to be vigilant and nurture what we have. It's both our relationship and our careers that are at stake," I said, looking into her eyes. In the days that followed, the dynamic within the company began to shift. The team began to see not just the CEO, but the woman fighting for something she genuinely believed in. Eleanor maintained her position, and with the support of a few colleagues, her public image began to transform. She became an inspiring figure, someone who not only led, but also showed that love and career didn't have to be mutually exclusive. Meanwhile, our relationship deepened. We started spending more time together outside the office, seizing every opportunity to explore the city and revel in each other's company. Each moment became precious, and the connection we were building grew stronger with every passing day. One night, walking Montauk Beach hand in hand beneath the stars, Eleanor turned to me. "You've taught me to be true, to fight for what truly matters," she confided, her voice a soft, unwavering current. "I can't imagine life without you now." My heart swelled with profound love and deep admiration for her. "We're in this together," I responded, my grip firm on her hand. "No matter what comes, what we have is profoundly worth fighting for." A quiet certainty solidified within me. With her, we could face any challenge. That night, as the sea breeze caressed our faces, harsh corporate realities dissipated under starlight. The love blossoming between us became an unwavering beacon amidst uncertainties, steadying us for the journey ahead. We would always stand ready to fight, together, and the future felt brighter than I'd ever hoped. What we were building transcended romance. It was a testament that true love could thrive even against profound adversity. The ensuing months wove a tapestry of professional challenges and personal triumphs. With Eleanor, initial corporate tensions surrounding our relationship slowly diffused, the team adapting to our new dynamic. Eleanor solidified her standing as an even more revered figure, proving genuine love and fierce professionalism were not mutually exclusive. Her courage and unwavering determination inspired not just me, but everyone in her orbit. One afternoon, meticulously reviewing a crucial project in Manhattan, Eleanor turned to me, a rare, soft smile touching her lips. "Remember that first conference where we truly met? Look at us now." The memory of Montauk's transformative power brought a quiet smile to my face. "Yes," I mused. "Who'd have thought that initial awkward tension would blossom into the profound connection we share?" I watched her, captivated by her quiet, unyielding strength. Our relationship solidified into a precious, private sanctuary, a space where we could truly lean. Yet a quiet apprehension lingered. We both knew unforeseen challenges lay ahead. The corporate world, especially within Vance Dynamics, remained volatile. Leadership shifts could bring unexpected, disorienting repercussions. Still, a shared resolve burned fiercely within us, a fierce determination to face whatever came, together. One evening, as we sat in a cozy restaurant, Eleanor received a message on her phone. "It's from the board," she said, her expression shifting from relaxed to worried. "It seems there will be a company restructuring, and soon we'll have to meet again." A knot formed in my stomach. The possibility of leadership changes could impact everything we had built. "What do you think this means for us?" I asked, trying to mask my apprehension. Eleanor sighed, her eyes reflecting a mix of insecurity and determination. "I don't know, but we need to be ready to face it. Let's be transparent about what we feel, no matter what happens." At the meeting scheduled for the following week, the board announced the restructuring. Eleanor was asked to take on a new role at a company branch in another city. The announcement took everyone by surprise, and the room was filled with murmurs. When the meeting ended, the shock was palpable. "Eleanor, you have to consider this opportunity. It's an incredible position," I said, trying to encourage her. "I know, but this means moving away from you, and I'm not sure I'm ready for that. What we have is too precious," she replied, sadness evident in her voice. The dilemma was clear. Eleanor's career was about to take off, but it could mean a separation for us. The following nights were filled with deep, troubled conversations. We talked about how this new challenge could shake our relationship, but also about the importance of pursuing our dreams. We both knew that if Eleanor accepted the position, we would have to face a period of distance, which could be difficult. "If you truly want this opportunity, I can't stop you. I promise I'll be by your side, no matter the distance," I encouraged her. Finally, after long reflection, Eleanor decided to accept the offer. "It's a chance to grow, and I can't let it pass," she said, determination in her gaze. My heart heavy. I knew this was the right choice for her, but the thought of being apart left me anxious. On the night of her farewell, we organized a dinner with friends and colleagues. The atmosphere was filled with laughter and fond memories, but inside I wrestled with sadness. Eleanor seemed radiant, yet there was also a shadow of sorrow in her eyes as she realized she was about to leave everyone behind. "I'm not just leaving a job, I'm leaving an important part of my life," she told me, vulnerability showing through. "And you are that part. I don't want to lose what we have." "You won't. We can make this work. The love we share is strong enough to overcome the distance," I replied, trying to convey confidence. But inside, uncertainty gnawed at me. As the night deepened, we exchanged promises, smiles and a few tears. I held her tight, knowing the journey we were about to embark on would be challenging, yet also brimming with potential. "We're in this together," I whispered into her ear, and she smiled, full of hope. The next morning heralded a new chapter for us. Eleanor departed for her new position, while I remained behind, carrying the fragile hope that our love would withstand the distance. I knew that despite the challenges ahead, we were ready to face whatever life held for us. Side by side, even if miles apart, true love knows no bounds, and I was determined to prove it.